make a quick video on the fuel line routing for this 1989 Seadoo SP 580. It's going to be pretty similar for the 92. That's the other one I have in the video, except for on those models the fuel pump, which is right here, is actually built in the carburetor itself. So you'll have an additional line going to that, and I can always show you the video for that one if needed. But on this carburetor, you'll have two hose lines coming into it. One's actually feeding fuel from the pump into the carburetor, and the one on the bottom there is just draining the unused fuel back into the fuel tank to recirculate it for later use. So here on this type of setup, you'll see you have an arrow coming in, so that's into the fuel pump because your carburetor's sucking that fuel in there. So it's going to be flowing into the pump, out the top of the pump into the carburetor. So, and then on the outside, on the other side there, you see the arrow coming in as well. That one's going to be coming from your fuel selector switch. Now this is, I think, what may confuse the people, because that one's not coming off of any of these hoses here. That one's going to be this back one here, and it's going to be feeding lower line here, and they're all labeled. So this says out, so you got fuel coming out. Fuel's coming out, going to your filter, which then goes to your pump, then to your carburetor. Here looks like you got reserve, so this is going to be your reserve hose. On the other side, obviously, it's going to be your on hose. On this other side, you can't really see it. So to determine which one's your on and which one's your reserve, they're going to both go to this tank here. They're going to be on opposite sides from each other. Very easy to tell kind of how this is set up here. Fuel vent line is going to be on the opposite side of your return to your tank. So this is the one that's back there off the lower end of your carb. That's feeding fuel back in your tank that's not being used. These two on the opposite sides are going to be your reserve and your on. To determine which is which, loosen your hose clamp here, pop this off. You'll have, it's going to come up pretty high. This actually sits in like a little plastic housing. Once you get that out, you'll see two hoses. One's a little bit longer than the other. The longer one's going to be for your reserve, because that one's going to be picking up fuel from a little bit lower in the tank. The one that sits a little bit higher is going to be your on. So route those accordingly as it says on there. Pretty much that's it. Any other questions? Let me know.